We also want to get to another big story of the day, and that is of course the runoff elections down in Georgia. And for that, we have Marquis Francis, who is on the ground in Atlanta for us. Marquis.
Absolutely, and I think what we're seeing in the Capitol is a direct response to what we've seen in Georgia. Today is history. Reverend Raphael Warnock becomes the first Black senator in the state's history, and John Ossoff is on track to be the second Democratic senator in the state, giving the Democrats control of the Senate, which obviously has huge implications for the country. President-elect Joe Biden will now have the Democratic Senate and the House and be able to enact progressive legislation, which was all the talk for the past 2 months. And honestly, from my perspective, it's actually a disappointment to see what's happening in DC, taking away from the news that's happening in Georgia. And from my perspective, especially as a Black man, seeing what happened over the summer with the social unrest and the police response to Black Lives Matter protests, and then to see protesters and police kind of going back and forth and not much force being exhibited, it leaves me scratching my head, wanting answers. I can't say that I'm surprised, but the big news in Georgia is that Democrats now control Congress. And we're seeing just the response from Trump supporters and how they're lashing out. I haven't seen anything happening in it. Yes.
Marquis, it's Adam, and we appreciate, you taking your break from Yahoo News. It's not actually a break, but to bring us up to speed on the situation in Georgia. There was a report that a militia group had surrounded the Georgia state capitol and that the Secretary of State had to be escorted to safety. Do you know anything about this?
I do not know anything about that. I'll look into that. But from what I understand, the numbers definitely are not as large as what we're seeing in DC. I think, for folks all around the country, I'm sure Trump supporters all over are upset with what took place. I'm sure most people will see what's happening in DC and just figure, hey, let's do it where we are. So I'm not surprised that something is happening in Georgia. If anything, I definitely expect some type of large demonstration this weekend on Saturday, because folks have work right now. Folks have to take care of children, but I definitely expect people to be out in large numbers on Saturday throughout Georgia, especially here in Atlanta. But obviously, we know the history of Georgia. Georgia is a southern state that has deep roots when you think about slavery, when you think about just a lot of deep-rooted racism. So the fact that a lot of people are lashing out right now in response to a Black pastor here in Atlanta, Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. King once preached, and a Jewish young journalist who once interned for the late and great civil rights activist John Lewis, on the cusp of winning that second seat. This is really just a reaction to the change that we're seeing in Georgia and then across America.
Marquis Francis is a reporter with Yahoo News. We appreciate the update on what's happening in Georgia. That, too, is historic.